Good evening, World Wide Web. Another update on digital media solutions. We just got done talking about this one in another video where I was pretty much clueless as to what was going on with this company, but I think I figured it out. They are mostly like a 90% profit, gross profit margin company. They sell pretty much exactly what the title says, digital media solutions. They're not an advertiser, they're an advertising solutions technology provider. They will sell maybe players that advertisers can embed in emails that will not go to the spam box or enhance it in a certain way for specialty advertisers. And they go after lots of different markets, home, auto, um, household, shopping, all kinds of different. They seem to be trying to approach different businesses, and they do a lot of advertising to get people to use their solutions. Um, I don't think it's recurring income. I have a feeling that part of their business is recurring in the sense where the same customer maybe comes back over and over again. Like they might have to keep buying more of it. Um, but I don't sense they're on recurring monthly or anything like that. Uh, the one thing that I really liked about this company when we looked at it was this balance sheet annually. You know, it's growing like gangbusters. And if you watch the last video, you're getting up to 427 million at the peak here. And then if you look at the quarterly chart, they're actually tracking 480. They were cruising up here. I was joking in the last video how all these near misses every time they're within a couple of million of zero. And I mentioned that they were doing it on purpose because you couldn't make it hit this number on accident if you wanted to, not this close to perfect zero every single time. So it kind of lends a clue to the fact that the company does have a good profit margin. They are making money, and they're making the decision to spend that money all the way down to zero to get the most benefit from it. One thing that bothered me on the last video is that they don't pay off their debt with their money. They like in 2021, for instance, they did 427 million. They had a 60 something $1 million operating cost. There was 300 more than $360 million left. What this company is doing is, you see this growth? That's what they're buying with their money. They take every single penny, every single year, every single penny that's left, and they pour it into advertising for the next year. So they can run, 10 times the commercials that they did prior and get a bunch of more customers and have this nice revenue grow up line, grow up. Most of them don't grow up for free unless you just are some kind of a viral thing, but you can buy yourself a grow up, and that's what they're doing. They're just taking every single cent possible to get this company to be bigger. And honestly, I love that. I think that's fantastic. I think it's my favorite approach to doing it. You buy customers. If they were on a recurring platform, it would be even better because then they would repeat themselves. We do have one problem with the company that I found. And here you go through every quarter of this last year, and it's just one near miss after another. In reality, like this last quarter, 60, what's it, 90 million dollars for the quarter. They probably made $60 million here. And then they just decided to take that $60 million and spend it on advertising to get the phone to ring to try to continue the growth. But what this year doesn't reflect through all these 5 quarters is any growth. And it reflects that they spent the money to get the growth, just like they had been doing previously, spending the money to get the growth, spending the money to get the growth, etc. You get the picture. They tried to do it through this year, quarter over quarter, spending the money to get the growth. Whoops, it didn't work. So now they're running their ads, and their ads are not doing as well as they used to do. The phone doesn't ring as much as it used to. The product isn't as great as it used to be to as many people. It's not as easy to sell it. Um, they're losing revenue. I wouldn't be worried about this dip as much, but and these two look like they held. So maybe it's kind of they're finding their happy place. But it looks like they can't buy themselves into a higher revenue situation as well as they could before. Um, Maybe they spent less money on advertising. Maybe this was actually a worse quarter for other reasons, and maybe they just couldn't do the same amount on advertising, and it resulted in a lower revenue month. And in that case, that would mean that they would be very heavily reliant on ad money to keep this revenue afloat. For them to hold $427 million a year, they might have to spend $60 or $70 million in advertising to achieve that. And that wouldn't go on their operating budget necessarily. That would be where that $360 million went from this year, was to get all of these to look better, and it just didn't turn out to continue to grow. They call this the law of diminishing return. The more and more you do the same thing, the less of a result you get from it. Maybe they need a new advertising medium. Maybe they need to try magazines or newspapers or cold calling people with telemarketing. I have no idea. Foot salesmen to sell their media solutions. They might have to change up their advertising game, but just buying simple ads seems to be what their formula was, and the simple ads just aren't working anymore. The phone's just not ringing like it used to ring. I mean, it's still ringing, don't get me wrong, but they went from 480 a year million down to 360 a year million. That's pretty considerably big drop off in 3 quarters. That's the anti-growth, and they spent absolutely every penny, and we're talking possibly hundreds of $1,000,000 just on advertising to try to get this line to go up, and they can't get the line to go up anymore, and that's the problem. Earnings is April 3rd. I looked at this chart and I saw this spike, and somebody got excited, and earnings are coming out April 3rd. They haven't even happened yet. And somebody went out, 75% up in 5 days. And I don't know what this is. Is this this couldn't be a short getting out. Is this some crazy buyer? Did he just come in and decide he was going to buy a ton of it? It could have been a short position getting out. Maybe he shorted it at $2 and he had to get out. He wanted to get out before earnings because he knows it's going to be another train wreck. That's what the analysts are saying. They're predicting more of the same old story. Same revenue, same don't make any money, don't lose any money, same situation. That's the prediction. We don't know what it's going to be yet. I'm starting to get more and more suspicious that this was a short getting out. He's getting out on a sloped line. Well, actually, this is steady going up all the way through the day, too. This was either mass buying or a short panicking right there. Saying, oh my God, this thing's going up. I better get out. Their debt is scary, but their annual revenue is way more than the debt now. So, if the business model is not repeating or recurring customer or auto bill, and they're going to have to buy their customer over and over and over again every month, and that can become problematic because it's not your operating budget, but it might as well be, because if you don't spend the money, you don't stay the same size company anymore, and you shrivel right back down into a $50 million a year company where you used to be. once you stop throwing up $300 million worth of advertising every year, or $100 million worth of advertising, you end up this size again, or this size again. That's what size you are without spending all that money on advertising, unless it's recurring. If there's a recurring model, but I don't get the impression that they are. I have a feeling. I mean, they might be charging plenty, and they might have repeat customers, and that might be just as good as recurring income. So I can't really speak to that, but it needs to be recurring, or the type of a customer relationship where you keep them long into the future. Every customer is worth many thousands of dollars every year for many years to come. And if you have that kind of a relationship with your customer, this thing here can grow to the moon. And then all of a sudden, one day, they don't have to run the advertising. They decide that, because when they were buying it here, that, boy, were they getting the result, weren't they? And all of a sudden, I'm just not getting the result anymore. That tells me the advertising isn't working anymore. But yeah, that's what they're buying. I just want to do a quick update and let everybody know the next quarter hasn't happened yet. It's April 3rd. It's analyst estimates. It would be the same losing crap quarter as we saw here. But let it be known, I'm going to do more research to find out if it is recurring. I'm going to look more exactly at their offerings. If it is a recurring business model, we're going to get on all over this one, because that would be a really big deal if they were going to be a $430 million, something million dollar company, and they could turn off the advertising. As soon as they turn off that ad expense that they won't have to buy, because all these people are on auto renewal, if that's the case. If we find out that's the case, we're going to come right back with another video on this one. If it's a one-time sale, we'll probably just drop this one like a box of rocks, because if you need to spend that much on advertising just to hold the line, I want the line to hold up on its own from quarter to quarter. You buy the advertising, you're buying this launch up. You shouldn't have to buy the whole line every quarter, and they might be buying the whole line every quarter. So we're going to find out the difference between that. But yeah, I was right. The near miss that they provide us with every single time, it is a near miss. The actual amount of money that they made is way up here. There's all gross profit from here down, the big yellow line, big yellow win. And if it's a recurring model, they can say, okay, $500 million company, we're big enough now. We're, instead of spending $200 million in ads this quarter, let's just spend $100 million in ads, and let's announce $100 million in earnings for the quarter for our stockholders. And that's when the stock just goes absolutely apeshit, because this company only has 40 million outstanding shares, and all of a sudden they're earning $2 a share. This thing goes straight to $60 a share. So that could very well be the boat that they're in, where they can just flip a switch and just say, all right, well, let's stop growing for a couple of quarters and get the stock right, and then we'll start growing again. Or let's pay off some of our debt. That's what I would rather them see. Now, the other question I had is, why did they make the decision to buy advertising and not pay off debt? Well, back in 2019, they had pretty much all their debt. They had $250 million worth of debt. That was back in 2019, and they were staring at $258 million in revenue. So maybe they thought they wanted to get the revenue up here before they dealt with the debt. Maybe that's, and advertising was the only way to do it. Maybe they couldn't deal with the debt as well at this level. Obviously, it's easier to do with the bigger dollars and the debt being the same. If they could grow just a little bit more, but it just looks like the advertising doesn't work anymore. So I don't know. And it's okay if the advertising doesn't work anymore as well. If you're in a recurring business model, so that means these customers will be staying with you for a long time, and you earn these clients, and that means you're going to be in business for a long time, putting out huge numbers and huge profits for a long time, and you can just give up on your growth spike model and spending all of your money trying to get this increase, because quarter after quarter they've been spending all the money to get the increase here and they're not getting it. But yeah, so that's just my stock, my update for this one. Sorry about the last video. I should have been able to say that they were just obviously buying advertising with this money and that it wasn't working anymore. That's a very obvious observation. 90% margin company spends every penny that they can get their fingers on advertising to make it grow. It's not really growing anymore from doing that. And maybe now they'll start concentrating on these. You might see them throw 50 million a quarter at the liability line. You might see them lay off, if they can, if they can lay off the high ad bill and put that towards their liabilities. That would be fantastic for the stockholder. Would love to see that. And then they can show us some earnings after that. I don't want them to show us earnings without paying off the debt, unless they get twice as big, and it doesn't look like they're going to get there. And where they can get, I guess nobody really knows. They could come up with a new angle, a new product, or some kind of a recurring product, and have some kind of recurring model. Hopefully they do. We're going to find out in another video exactly what in the heck the product is. They're trying to sell businesses as a superior digital media solutions. It's got to be a YouTube type video box that you would there'd be the presentation of a video. I don't think they build your video. I don't think they're commercial makers. I don't think they're an advertising company. I think they're more in the software end. They will sell you the software that does the special needed things that you need it to do. It sounds very niche, but we're going to find out more. I want to know whether it's recurring or whether it's niche. But yeah, we could be staring at something huge here. It's just a matter of finding out what the business model is and how that income is collected. Is it repeated, or is it a one-time sale? If it's a one-time sale, they're in deep shit because they're not growing anymore, and that whole blue line is going to fall. Anyways, thanks. We'll do another update on this one. Don't buy it until we know more. And DMS, Digital Media Solutions, thanks for watching. Have a good night. Like the video and subscribe, please. Thanks for supporting me.